and welcome to the Property Wealth Podcast. Today, we're diving into a topic that's not only interesting, but also super relevant for anyone looking to invest in real estate. Pet policies, profit versus problems.
Yeah, it's a big one, for sure. As more people look for rental properties, you've got to consider how pet policies can really impact your investment decisions.
Absolutely. Whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting out, understanding the balance between attracting pet owners and managing potential issues is crucial.
Right. We'll chat about how to implement pet policies that can help you maximize profits while minimizing headaches.
And we'll also touch on the legal aspects, the potential risks, and some practical tips for screening tenants with pets.
Plus, we'll share some real-life examples from my own experiences. The good, the bad, and the surprising.
Sounds like a lot to cover. So let's get right into it.
Sure thing. First off, let's talk about why pet policies are becoming more important in today's rental market. So, Sarah, the reason pet policies are such a big deal right now really ties into a lot of the broader trends we're seeing in real estate and, even the economy as a whole.
Absolutely, Mike. With inflation creeping up and retirement timelines shifting, people are looking for ways to secure their financial future, right?
Exactly. And one way to do that is through smart rental strategies. I've seen investors pivot toward more pet-friendly policies, simply because it opens up the market to a whole new demographic of renters.
Right. There are so many families and individuals out there who have pets and consider them part of the family. If you're not allowing pets, you might be missing out on a sizable chunk of potential tenants.
Yes, and it's not just about filling vacancies. It's about long-term tenant retention. A lot of pet owners are looking for stability. They want to settle down somewhere they feel at home. And if you allow their furry friends, they're more likely to stay put for longer.
That's such a great point. I've heard stories from investors who've implemented pet policies and, they've had tenants renew their leases year after year, simply because they felt comfortable and accepted.
Right. And let's not forget about the financial side of things, too. You can charge a pet deposit or a slightly higher rent, which can really help offset those rising costs we're seeing everywhere. Inflation is hitting us all hard.
Totally. And, with rising costs in maintenance and repairs, that extra income can really help cushion the blow. I remember talking to an investor named Lisa. She was struggling to keep her properties profitable. Once she started allowing pets, her occupancy rates soared, and she was able to increase her rental income.
That's such a perfect example. And it's not just about the money either. It's about creating a community. People with pets often connect with one another, forming bonds that can lead to a more stable rental environment. It's like they're looking out for each other, which can reduce the number of issues you might face as a landlord.
Yeah, and let's think about the emotional side as well. For many folks over 40, pets are a source of companionship, especially as kids grow up and move out. They want to feel secure, not just financially, but emotionally too. Providing a home that welcomes pets can help cultivate that sense of belonging.
Absolutely. And as we start thinking about wealth transfer to family, it's crucial to create properties that retain their value. A well-maintained rental that's pet-friendly could be a significant asset down the road. It's all about future-proofing your investment.
Exactly. And speaking of future-proofing, with market shifts, we're seeing a lot of people wanting to diversify their portfolios. Properties that cater to pet owners can be a smart way to stand out in a crowded market.
Right. If you think about it, pet ownership is on the rise. The American Pet Products Association reported that pet ownership has soared, with millennials leading the charge. And those millennials are becoming the new renters. So if you want to attract that demographic, being pet-friendly is almost a necessity now.
Yeah, and it's not just millennials either. People are keeping pets later in life. I spoke to a couple in their 50s who decided to adopt a dog after their kids left home. They didn't want to feel empty nested. So if you're ignoring pet policies, you're potentially losing out on a growing market.
That's so true. And let's also consider the current economic trends. With uncertainty in the market, people are looking for stability. A rental property that feels like home, where they can bring their pets, gives them that sense of security they're craving.
Yes! And when you think about it, allowing pets can also keep your turnover costs lower. The hassle of finding new tenants, cleaning up, and making repairs adds up. Keeping tenants longer reduces those costs significantly.
Exactly. And it's about building that trust too. When tenants feel that their needs are being considered, like allowing their pets, they're more likely to take better care of the property.
So true. And for those who might be hesitant to implement a pet policy, there are ways to do it carefully. Setting guidelines, like breed restrictions or requiring pet insurance, can help manage potential issues while still being accommodating.
Definitely. It's all about finding that balance. You create a welcoming environment for pet owners while also protecting your investment.
And as we think about the future, all of these factors come together to create a strong case for why pet policies matter now more than ever. They can enhance your portfolio, provide financial stability, and foster a sense of community.
Right, and that emotional security is just as important as the financial side. As we transition into core strategies, let's explore practical steps that investors can take to implement these policies effectively. So, when we're diving into pet policies, it's essential to think about the balance between profits and potential problems, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you want to maximize your rental income, but you also need to consider how pets might affect your property, right?
Exactly. One of the first things to establish is your criteria for pet acceptance. You could start with a simple rule of thumb, like allowing only small to medium-sized dogs, or even just cats.
Yeah, that makes sense. Small pets tend to cause fewer issues, and they're often more appealing to a wider range of tenants.
Right. And then there's the question of deposits and fees. Have you thought about implementing a pet deposit?
Oh, for sure. It's a great way to protect your investment. Generally, I've seen a range from $200 to $500, depending on the area and the type of property.
Exactly. And remember, it's important to set a non-refundable pet fee as well, maybe around $100 or so. It can help cover any extra cleaning or repairs after a tenant moves out.
That's really practical. And how do you feel about monthly pet rents?
That's something I really like. Charging an extra $25 to $50 per month for pets can add up quickly, especially if you have multiple units.
Yeah, I can see how that would boost your cash flow. But you want to be careful not to price yourself out of the market.
Absolutely. Market research is key. You should always check what other landlords in your area are doing. If everyone's charging $25 for a pet fee, you don't want to suddenly charge $100 and scare off potential tenants.
That's a great point. It's about finding that sweet spot. And I think it's also important to consider what types of pets might be allowed. Like, should you allow exotic pets?
That can be a double-edged sword. I mean, exotic pets can be a niche market, but they often come with their own set of challenges. Think about things like potential damage to the property, or even safety concerns.
Exactly. And then there's the matter of insurance. Have you ever run into issues there?
Oh, definitely. Some insurance policies have specific exclusions for certain breeds or types of pets. You'll want to double-check with your provider to ensure you're still covered.
Right. It's all about protecting yourself while still appealing to a broader audience.
And that's where clear communication comes in. You might want to outline your pet policy in your lease agreement, so everyone knows the rules up front.
Yeah, clarity is essential. It helps set expectations and can prevent misunderstandings later on.
Exactly. And if you're considering allowing pets, you should also think about how that might impact your property's condition.
Like, do you have a maintenance plan in place?
Exactly. Regular inspections can help catch any wear and tear before it becomes a bigger problem.
That's smart. So what about the financial side of things? How do you evaluate whether allowing pets is worth it?
Well, one method I like is the 1% rule. It's a simple way to gauge if an investment is worth pursuing. Basically, if your monthly rent is at least 1% of your property's purchase price, you're in a good spot.
Right. So if you bought a property for $200,000, you'd want to aim for $2,000 a month in rent.
Exactly. And when you factor in pet rent or fees, it can really push you over that threshold.
And then there's the 50% rule. What's that for?
The 50% rule is a good estimator for your operating expenses. Basically, you assume that about 50% of your rental income will go toward expenses, things like maintenance, property management, and taxes.
That's super helpful. So if you're making $2,000 a month, you'd budget about $1,000 for expenses, leaving you $1,000 for profit.
Exactly. And when you allow pets, you might find that your income can comfortably cover those expenses.
So it's really about crunching the numbers to see how everything fits together.
Right, and don't forget to consider the type of property you have. For instance, single-family homes often attract pet owners more than apartments do.
That's true. Families are more likely to have pets, and if you're in a pet-friendly neighborhood, you might find it easier to attract tenants.
Yes! Location plays a huge role. If you're near parks or good schools, that can be a big draw for pet owners.
So, once you've established your pet policy and done the math, it's time to actually market your property, right?
Exactly. Highlighting your pet-friendly status in your listings can really set you apart. Use phrases like pet-friendly or great for pet owners.
And showcasing any pet amenities, like a yard or nearby parks, can also attract interest.
Yes, visual marketing is key. Include photos of any pet-friendly spaces. It makes a huge difference in attracting the right tenants.
Okay, so we've covered a lot about the benefits and strategies of pet policies, but what about common pitfalls?
That's crucial. You want to avoid the traps that can come with allowing pets, like inadequate screening or not having a solid lease agreement.
Let's dive into that next.
So, Sarah, when we talk about pet policies, one of the big pitfalls I see investors falling into is over-leveraging. They think, oh, I can afford this property because the rent will cover the mortgage. But then they overlook the extra costs that come with having pets.
Right, like pet deposits and potential damages, not to mention the added maintenance costs. It can really add up, can't it?
Absolutely. I remember a client of mine, let's call him Tom. He bought a couple of properties and both allowed pets. He thought it was a great way to attract tenants. But he didn't factor in how many of those tenants would have, large dogs that could cause wear and tear.
That's a real issue. Did Tom face any significant damages?
Oh, definitely. One of his properties had the carpets destroyed, and he had to replace them completely. That hit his cash flow hard. It's those kinds of hidden costs that can sneak up on you if you're not careful.
So it really emphasizes the need to do thorough screenings, doesn't it?
For sure. And that leads us to another common mistake. Bad tenants. I mean, it's easy to just look at the income and skip the background checks, especially if you're eager to fill the vacancy, but that can really bite you.
Right, like, if you don't check their rental history or references, you could end up with someone who doesn't pay rent on time, or worse, damages the property.
Exactly. I had another client. Let's call her Lisa. She was so excited about a new tenant who had a dog. She didn't check their previous landlord. Fast forward a few months, and she's dealing with late rent payments and complaints from neighbors about barking.
Oh no, that must have been a nightmare for her.
It was. And the thing is, if she had done a little more research up front, she could have avoided that whole situation. It's all about spotting those red flags early, even if someone seems perfect on paper.
And sometimes it's the little things that can indicate bigger problems later on, right? Like if they don't have a stable job, or their credit score is just at that edge.
Right. And then there's the issue of cash flow. Investors often think they can just ride the market wave, but they ignore the actual cash flow. That's crucial for sustainability.
Totally. I think some people get caught up in the idea of appreciation. They forget that if the cash flow isn't there, they can't keep the property long term.
Exactly. I had a friend, Mark, who bought a property in a hot market, thinking it would appreciate quickly. But he didn't account for the monthly expenses and ended up losing money every month.
So he was stuck, huh?
Yeah, he was. And the market didn't turn out to be as favorable as he thought. He ended up having to sell at a loss, which was a tough lesson.
That's so frustrating. I think it's easy to get swept up in the excitement of potential profits.
For sure, and that's why understanding your cash flow is so critical. You have to ensure your expenses are covered, not just by the rent, but also by what you can realistically expect to earn.
And if the market takes a downturn?
Exactly. You have to be prepared for that, which brings us to the concept of hidden costs. Many new investors overlook things like property management fees, insurance, and maintenance costs.
Yeah, I've heard of people being shocked at how much they had to spend on upkeep.
Oh, absolutely. I had a client who bought an older property thinking it was a steal, but they didn't account for the roof needing replacement and old plumbing issues. Those costs added up quickly.
It's like they see the price tag, but they don't realize the real cost of ownership.
Exactly. It's crucial to have a budget for unexpected repairs and maintenance. You know, a good rule of thumb is to set aside around 1% of the property value for repairs annually.
That seems like a smart approach. It's better to be safe than sorry, right?
Definitely. And the last pitfall I want to touch on is timing the market. Many investors think they can time their purchases perfectly, but that's really tough to do.
It's more like trying to catch a falling knife, right?
Exactly. I know investors who wait for the perfect moment to buy, and in that waiting period, they miss good opportunities.
So it's better to focus on finding a good deal rather than trying to predict market movements?
Yes. Focus on the fundamentals, location, cash flow, and your personal investment strategy. If you find a property that meets your criteria, don't hesitate.
Such great advice, Mike. So for listeners who might be experiencing some of these pitfalls, what are some practical next steps they can take to recover or avoid these mistakes?
First, do your due diligence. Always screen your tenants thoroughly and have a clear pet policy in place that considers all potential costs.
And maybe even consider a pet deposit, right?
Exactly. And always have a reserve fund for emergencies. You want to ensure you can cover repairs without it affecting your cash flow.
That's really important. And keeping an eye on the market trends, but not getting obsessed with timing, sounds like a solid strategy.
Right. And remember, investing is a long game. It's about building wealth over time, not just chasing quick profits.
Well said, Mike. Thanks for sharing these insights.
My pleasure, Sarah.
So let's dive into what our next steps might look like for real estate investors as we wrap this up.
All right. So now that we've explored the ins and outs of pet policies, let's talk about some immediate steps people can take, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think the first thing is to really assess your current rental properties. Like, do you have a pet policy in place already? If so, does it need a little tweaking?
Exactly. If you don't have a pet policy, that's a critical first step. You can start drafting one by looking at examples online. There are tons of resources out there, and you can even find templates that you can customize to fit your needs.
Oh, totally. And speaking of templates, maybe consider using a property management software like Buildium or Appfolio. They often include features to help you manage pet policies and tenant agreements.
That's a great point. And for those who are managing properties themselves, it's super helpful to get familiar with local regulations too. You can check your local MLS for any specific rules regarding pets in your area, which can really help guide your policy.
Right, and let's not forget about doing some research on what other landlords in your area are doing. Websites like Zillow and Rentometer can give you insights into how similar properties are handling pets.
Yeah, and if you're looking to analyze your potential deals, tools like the BiggerPockets calculator or Deal Check can be invaluable. You can input your pet policy, calculate potential rents, and see how it affects your bottom line.
That's a smart move. And for those who want to dive deeper into the numbers, I'd recommend setting a goal to analyze at least one deal per week. Just pick something that interests you and run the numbers.
Absolutely, that consistency can really pay off over time. And if you're feeling a little lost or unsure, joining a local real estate meetup can be a great way to connect with others who might have gone through similar experiences.
Yeah, networking is so powerful. You can share your pet policy challenges and get feedback from fellow investors. Plus, you never know what insights you might gain.
And let's not overlook the power of education. There are some fantastic books and podcasts out there focused on real estate investing. For example, the book on managing rental properties by Brandon Turner does a great job of covering policies, including pets.
Oh, I love that one. And for podcasts, I'd suggest checking out the BiggerPockets podcast. They often feature guests who share their experiences, which can be super relatable.
Definitely. And if you're more of a visual learner, YouTube has a wealth of content as well. Just search for real estate investing channels. There are plenty focused on property management and policies.
It's amazing how much information is out there. And, starting small can really make a difference. Maybe commit to drafting your pet policy or setting up a meeting with a property management expert this week.
Yeah, and it's all about taking those baby steps. You don't have to tackle everything at once. Just Pick one thing and focus on it.
Right, and as you start to implement these changes, you'll find your confidence growing. Each little step adds up.
And remember, it's about finding what works for you. Everyone's situation is different, so tailor your approach based on your properties and goals.
Exactly. And don't hesitate to experiment a little. If something isn't working, you can always adjust your policy based on feedback or results.
That's a key point. Flexibility is important in real estate. You might find that what you thought would be a problem actually brings in more interested tenants.
And if you ever find yourself feeling overwhelmed, just take a moment to breathe. It's all a learning process, and you're not alone in it.
Exactly, and as you build your portfolio and refine your strategies, you'll get more comfortable with the ins and outs of pet policies and more.
So those are some practical first steps. Now let's bring this all together.
So, as we wrap up our discussion on pet policies, there are definitely a few key takeaways to remember, right?
Absolutely. First off, I think it's clear that having a solid pet policy can really boost your rental appeal, but it's all about balancing profit and potential problems.
Exactly. And another point is the importance of screening tenants properly. It really helps to minimize issues down the line.
Right. And don't forget the value of clear communication. When you set expectations up front, it can save a lot of headaches later.
For sure, and I think we also touched on the idea of being flexible, Sometimes, allowing pets can open doors to a larger tenant pool, but you need to have systems in place to manage that.
Yeah, it's like weighing the pros and cons, finding that sweet spot between making your property more attractive and protecting your investment.
And ultimately, it's all about building long-term wealth. Real estate is a journey, and having a thoughtful approach can really pay off.
Definitely. So if you found value in today's episode, we'd love for you to like, subscribe, and maybe even comment with your biggest takeaway or a question you might have.
And don't forget to share this with anyone you know who's over 40 and looking to invest in property. They might just find the insights super helpful.
And next time, we'll dive into smoke-free and eco-friendly leases, which should be a really interesting conversation.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you found some practical tips that you can apply to your own investing journey.
Until next time, happy investing, everyone.